What's up guys, my name's Brandon and today Apple released iOS 17.5 RC or release candidate to both developers and to public beta testers just a week after the previous beta 4. Now along with this update, we also got the RC build for iPadOS 17.5, watchOS 10.5, macOS Sonoma 14.5, tvOS 17.5, visionOS 1.2, iOS 16.7.8 for older devices, and also iPadOS 16.7.8. But of course, in this video, we are talking all about iOS and iPadOS 17.5 RC. So starting off with the size of the update, you can see it came in at 6.51 gigabytes on my iPhone 15 Pro Max. So a very large size as expected when you go from a beta to a final release, which the release candidate, if you're new here, is the final version most likely for beta testers. We're gonna have the same build number when the official public version comes out next week, unless Apple releases an RC2. So the size is always large when you go from beta to final or vice versa. So if we go into our settings, let's check out that new build number. So if we go to settings, general, about, the new build number is 21F79. And if we go back and check out the modem firmware, that remains at 1.60.02. So that is the same as the previous beta. All right, so now what's new here in iOS 17.5 RC? Now keep in mind, I'm not going to share every single new thing in iOS 17.5 in the overall software because I will be sharing all of those new features and changes in next week's video when the final official version releases to the general public and not just beta testers. So in this video, I want to talk about what's new going from beta 4 to the RC, the one that was just released today. And the first thing has to do with something in the code, and that is that the upcoming Beats Pill speaker has been spotted in the code. So there are videos and also 3 different colors are referenced. So black, gold, and red. So we should be seeing that released relatively soon. Now also in iOS 17.5 RC, if you take a look at the release notes here, we have tracking notifications. So this has been implemented now. So it says cross-platform tracking detection delivers notifications to users if a compatible Bluetooth tracker they do not own is moving with them, regardless of what operating system the device is paired with. So this is because of Apple and Google's partnership where you're going to be able to use third-party trackers with Find My, and also you will get those unknown AirTags alerts, even if it is not a AirTag. And if you have, just Find My built in, it will pick up those third-party trackers now. And what's interesting is that in the release notes, we only get changes about Apple News and tracking notifications. And there are quite a few other changes, not a ton of other changes, but there are a few other changes in the update as well. But Apple only mentions Apple News and the cross-platform tracking detection. So if we look under Apple News, we have offline mode, and Apple News Plus gives you access to the Today feed and News Plus tab, even when you don't have an internet connection. And we've talked about that before, but if you go into your settings and go to News and then go down here to News Plus offline mode, this is where you can turn that on for automatic downloads, and you can choose what you would like to automatically download. And we also have optimized storage there as well. So if you go into the News Plus tab here and you get the news pulled up and you go into airplane mode or turn your Wi-Fi off, you will see that up top we have a new prompt that says no internet connection, set up offline mode. And when you tap on that, you get this little prompt here that says set up offline mode. News downloads content for offline mode at night when iPhone is charging with Wi-Fi on. So you have automatic downloads you can set up. If you tap on go to settings, it will take you to this section where you can turn those auto downloads on. And then also right here, we have a tab for downloaded, and you can see your downloaded issues right there. And then I just got this pop-up on the RC build. So it comes from the following tab and it says Apple News Plus puzzles, and just tells you about the new puzzles that are in 17.5. Now, if we head into the news application and go to that following tab here, and then go to puzzles up top, this is where we can see the new quartiles puzzle. So that is a brand new one that was just added with iOS 17.5. And if you go into there, this does sync up with Game Center as well. So there are leaderboards. If you tap right there, you can see the leaderboards amongst your friends, or also global. So you can see it right here. This is the global leaderboard for the Quartiles game. And you do also have leaderboards for Crossword Daily and also the Crossword Mini. And then also here in the RC build of 17.5, it looks like Apple may have tweaked with the font settings for the weather widget once again. So the main weather, the current weather right there, seems a little bit smaller than it was on previous versions. But if you look from 17.4 to 17.5, that's where you can clearly see a difference in the font sizes, both over here and also the current temperature. Now, if you're into fitness and you have an Apple Watch, there's a new watch activity challenge coming on May 21st for World Meditation Day. All you have to do is record 5 minutes or more in the mindfulness application, and you will get this new badge here. Also, if we head over to our lock screen and go to create a new one, you will notice that we have new wallpapers. If we go down here into Pride, so there are new Pride wallpapers now, and I have to say that these look better than the press images. So these were announced earlier in the week or last week, and now we see how they look here on the screen. So there are different styles. You can see it's kind of a neon style, which is pretty cool. And then we have this one right here. You know, you can see the different styles and the different colors for that. And these are just in addition to the two pre-existing Pride wallpaper designs that we got in previous years. And check out the cool animation on these Pride wallpapers. So if you go to the home screen, take a look at that transition. Super cool, especially when you do it fast. I'm doing it slow just to show you guys, but check that. Let me get rid of all these notifications. Check this out. How cool is that? It changes every single time you go to the lock screen, and on the home screen, it changes slightly, the orientation and just everything that you see. So it didn't change there, but let's see. Okay, there we go. It changed. So you just can't do it too fast. So it will change, as you can see. Super cool. I actually really like this. This is a really unique one from Apple. It's not Apple's typical style, so I'm a fan. Also in the code of the RC build of iOS 17.5, it looks like Apple is referencing the Magic Keyboard as the MagSafe trackpad. So not sure what that's about. We didn't see anything related to MagSafe today at the Let Loose event, but that's a pretty interesting tidbit. And I have to say it because I've been having my stopwatch run ever since it was removed from the software, but no, we do not have a stopwatch live activity in the RC build, which means we're probably not going to get it in the final release either. Probably not in iOS 17 at all. So it's not up there in the dynamic island, and it's also not down here on the lock screen as a live activity. And then taking a look at the release notes, there's nothing changed here from the previous beta. So we still have the resolved accessibility issue, the resolved issue for app tracking transparency, and also the resolved issues for StoreKit and wallpaper. And then of course the new features for eSIM and Core Motion. Now, as far as the performance and the battery life goes on iOS 17.5, the RC build, performance feels great so far. I did go ahead and run a Geekbench test. You can see what we scored. So let's go to our history. So we scored a 2923 on the single core and a 7195 on the multi-core, which is weak compared to the previous version. So you can see beta 3 or beta 4 rather down here on April 30th. So it is lower in both single and multi-core, but I did run that shortly after installing. So I will run it again later this week to see how it compares. And I will tell you about any type of improvements in the Apple Weekly episode coming on Saturday. And then as far as the battery life goes, battery life so far feels good. I mean, you can see that we're still rocking at 90% here. So battery life seems great on the RC build. I may venture to say that this could be better than Beta 4. I don't know. Beta 4 had great battery life for me on 17.5, but the RC might be even better. We're still sitting at 90%. Which is solid. But you guys will have to let me know how battery life is. And of course, I will be testing out the final release throughout this week extensively. I will be doing a lot of research on the battery life, and I will bring you guys any findings in Apple Weekly this weekend, and then also in the final, iOS 17.5 What's New video that's coming next week when it gets released to the public. Now, speaking of release to the public, let's talk about when to expect iOS 17.5 to release to the public. So next week, we are getting new iPads, a new iPad Air, and also a new iPad Pro. I do have a video coming later today on those and which one you should choose, but we are seeing the new iPads release on Wednesday, the 15th. And usually I would say that because those are coming on a Wednesday, that means that the final release would have to come on Monday or Tuesday. But according to Mark Gurman, these iPads are shipping with iPadOS 17.4. 4, not iPadOS 17.5. So that's pretty interesting, but even with that being said, I still think we're going to see iOS 17.5 release on Monday the 13th. And since we did not see macOS and visionOS get their RC releases at the same time as every other software release, we might see those come at a later date. So we may not see macOS 14.5 and visionOS 1.2 on the same day as iOS and iPadOS 17.5, but that could change. We'll have to wait and see when those RC versions get released. And then after 17.5 gets released to the public, we will see 17.6 beta 1 kick off, and then we will see iOS 18 beta 1 on Monday, June 10th, the first day of the Worldwide Developers Conference. So that is iOS 17.5 RC, or release candidate. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up. Also, be sure to stay tuned for next week because I have a lot of videos coming, not just on iOS 17.5, but also covering the new iPad. So make sure you are subscribed if you're not already. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.